Hi, I'm Andrea Marcum, which if you are doing this class on my platform, you already know. You're like, yeah, I know. But if you've discovered me on the Yoga Gives Back site, I just want to welcome you to what we like to call the portal of love here at andreamarcum.com. And for you platform peeps, I am going to introduce you to a cause and an organization for which I'm an ambassador, a passionate ambassador. We'll talk about it as we go, but let's get started. And the way we'll do that is, if you have a couple of blocks, great. If you don't worry about it. Take those 2 blocks, it could be thick books, by the way, at home, and place them a little wider than shoulder distance. You can start there and maybe you adjust them. And then we'll take what looks like a sassy little child's pose, theoretically with your elbows on your blocks or your books, but on the ground is great too. And then your forehead may or may not make it to the ground. You'll make a little prayer behind your back, and we'll settle in to a bit of a shoulder stretch and a little bit of a heart opener, which is handy for opening our hearts to the gratitude circle of Yoga Gives Back. While we're here opening our hearts, let's also lean into our breathing. If you can, it's in and out through your nose, but breathe any way that you can. Let's just lace that breath with a little bit more awareness. Possibly even with the ujjayi sound, like a hollow whisper. Five more moments together here. Unravel yourself from this little situation. You can move your props off to the side and then sit on your heels. If you're very comfortable in between your heels, we're not here long, but you could do that too. Take your left arm out to the side, thumb facing down, and then place the back of your left hand to the small of your back. Maybe even wander that left hand up like you're trying to scratch an itch in between your shoulders. Right arm up to the sky. Pat yourself on the back for participating in the circle of gratitude that you'll be hearing more about. And perhaps you even shake hands. And then gently release this, and let's just construct that side too. So right thumb down, back of your right hand to the small of your back. Maybe it makes its way up to itch something between your shoulder blades. Left arm up, give yourself a little pat on the back. And if your 2 hands meet, great. But really, this is all about a connection that may or may not have to do with a whole lot of physical flexibility, but definitely with a little emotional and maybe mental flexibility. Let's gently release this. Interlace your hands now. Bring your forearms down onto the ground, and it's a bit of a karate chop into the ground. Curl your toes under. This is early on in our practice, so you may keep a bend to your knees as you come into an interlaced dolphin. So hips up and back, a karate chop with our arms. Some of us might benefit from wider stance in the legs. Perhaps it's interesting to begin to straighten your legs and sink your heels down, so you do you. Let's let the compassion start here in our own direction. Notice what you notice. A few moments just like this. Then wander yourself back to an interlaced plank on your forearms. Interlaced plank on your forearms can also be with your knees down, so that might be helpful. If we're going to help each other, we need to make sure that we're willing to help ourselves. So we've got a little bit of battery with which to extend ourselves, from which to extend ourselves. We're here for 5 moments. Stay in your plank on your forearms, again, perhaps with your knees down, and now just unlace and let your palms go flat. And if that doesn't work for you, you could relace once again, all good. Instead of sagging between our shoulder blades, push the ground away so that you fill that area out. It's actually the opposite of moments ago when we had our elbows on our blocks and we were looking for retraction in our shoulder blades. Now there's a slight protraction. Our low belly is drawing towards our spine so that we look like a plank, a little bit more than like a sagging banana here. And we've got 5 moments to note where we are in space, proprioception, because this would be some pretty ideal placement for chaturangas yet to come. Lower your hips to your mat and uncurl your toes. Then reach your arms behind you and interlace. Interlacing your fingers, drag those knuckles back behind you. Now we are once again in shoulder blade retraction. So they're gliding towards each other. And then instead of throwing our chin forward, let's extend our heart forward, which is exactly what we will do in so many ways in this practice today. Press into the tops of your feet until your kneecaps lift. And then if you'd like, you might lift your legs, but let's think lengthen our legs. So it's not really important if they lift off the ground. 3 moments here. Release it down. Situate your hands next to your ribs. Curl your toes under. Remember how many of us had our knees down in that plank on our forearms? We might do the same here as we come up into chaturanga. And we pause in chaturanga, filling out that area between our shoulder blades, so no longer is that back bend we just did happening in that shoulder blade area. 3 moments here. You can come out of it early, no problem. Lower to your belly, and then once again, we come into a back bend, but this time with our hands situated where they are. Press into the tops of your feet, let your kneecaps lift. Remember, it's not so much our chin, it's our very open heart. And now hover your hands above your mat. So a floating cobra. Again, if you want, the legs could lift, but let's think lengthen. Lower down. Place your hands down, curl your toes under, be willing to keep your knees down as we come to chaturanga from the ground. It's an experiment. You just do the best that you can do. And we pause a moment or two. The support of your knees down might be really helpful to get this going. Lower it down, uncurl your toes, and make it either a deeper cobra or maybe you hoist everything up into upward facing dog this time. Same theory of heart forward. And let's construct that with a bend to our elbows and then draw that chest through the gateway of your arms, and then you can straighten your arms. Feel that in that shoulder blade area we've been citing. We're making our way to down dog. Perhaps you go to chaturanga on your way. You don't have to. And then you'll move through a plank and into a down dog, which is shades of what we did in that dolphin pose if you think about it. Let's come up high on our tiptoes. Bend our knees and then really feel spaciousness. Back body, side body, front body. And we'll keep that a priority as we think about sinking our heels down. It's our humble bow. We humbly bow to this extraordinary practice of yoga, the motherland of yoga being India. And when we talk about yoga gives back and a circle of gratitude, we are giving thanks and we are contributing to helping situations in India that might not be ideal, especially for women and girls. Empty out, walk or float feet to your hands. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, fold back in. Inhale, rise, reach arms to the sky. And then let's pause in our mountain pose. Stand into our mountain. Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, hinge at your hips and fold. Inhale, lift your heart. Step it to plank. Lower to chaturanga and maybe with your knees down, and then pull through to cobra or up dog. We lead with our heart. And then we'll make our way to down dog. If you enjoy that extra chaturanga, you pop it in there. You don't have to. We pause in our humble bow, humbly bowing to the motherland. Empty out, walk, float, feet to your hands. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, fold it in. Inhale, rise, reach. And then we pause in our mountain. Again, just like that. Inhale, arms, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift your heart. Step it to plank, or if you'd like, you could float lightly, gently to Chaturanga Dandasana. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And our humble bow. We'll empty out, walk, maybe float, feet all the way forward to our hands, lift your heart, inhale, and then fold as we exhale. Inhale it all the way up, and then we pause and fully inhabit our mountain. Inhale, keep going. I'll be quiet and we'll meet in our humble bow. Option to stay here in our humble bow, or to take one more Surya Namaskara A and then return right here. Some of you might even choose to make this time a child's pose snuggle. We'll meet back here in a moment. And from our humble bow, we'll empty out and then walk or float our feet forward to our hands. Inhale as you lift your heart and then fold in as we exhale. We'll inhale and rise. And then pause once again here in our mountain. Surya Namaskara C. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, hinge at your hips and fold. Lift your heart as we inhale, walk your right foot back and lower that back knee. So your left foot is forward. Reach your arms to the sky, and then once we're here, crisscross at your wrists and turn your palms to face each other. It looks kind of fancy pants. But let's use that to grow our hearts up and open. We can think of this as expansive. Here on our platform, we speak so frequently about how this practice, this portal of love, has connected us to each other, to ourselves, and to who it is that we want to be out in the world. So let's imagine that we are shining our hearts out into the world right now. Release your hands to your mat. Step it to plank and through a vinyasa. Of course, you can start to skip vinyasas anytime you'd like. Lift your right leg behind you. Let's take a moment to open our hip, bend our knee, flip your dog, whatever it is that you love to get into, dig into a little bit here. Then we'll square off and come to a plank with our knee to our chest, and we'll pause. We'll take note that this is slight protraction in the shoulder blades. We're not sagging and sinking. We've got a little oomph to what we're up to. And then we'll place our right foot next to our right thumb, lower our back knee to our mat, reach our arms to the sky, and now whatever it is that your tendency is to crisscross in front, swap it out. Other wrist is in front. Palms face each other, and once again we think of going up and up and up with our hearts. And out and out and out, as Will said in his email to me, the story that we heard last practice, that we are shining out into the cosmos. Pretty awesome. Let's frame this right foot to step forward, so our exit is different. Left foot meets right. Inhale, lift your heart, and exhale, fold it in. Inhale, rise and reach, but keep going slowly. Exhale, fold yourself back in. Inhale, lift your heart. Our right foot steps back, and we come up into a crescent pose. So you may want to wiggle your left foot to the left a little bit as we come upright, and the other thing is you might want a little bend in that back knee. So we upright our torso. We situate it so that we can shine back out into the cosmos once again. Interlace your hands behind your back, and then just drag that interlace as if it was going to rest in the back of your right leg or the back of your right knee. Remember, we're trying to let this be our heart shining, not throwing our chin forward. As we steady ourselves here, bring this interlace to the small of your back. So you just bend your elbows and your interlace is now touching your sacrum. That's that triangle at the base of your spine. This might be plenty. Be compassionate as we design these postures. Maybe that interlace turns into a prayer behind your back. So for some of us, that might happen, but if it's collapsing, your shoulder heads forward and it's a struggle, find a place instead where you can keep your heart open. It's a little bit like I said, we need to have our own batteries, our own compassion batteries charged, or we will be no good out in the world. So find where you can charge your compassion batteries and shine that compassion out. Three more moments here. Slide your hands down to the interlace, and then hands to your mat and a vinyasa, or straight to down dog. We'll pause a moment or two here. And then we'll empty out and walk or float our feet to our hands. Lift your heart, inhale, and fold as you exhale. Of course, I have completely destroyed the Surya Namaskar C for all of you here at, Yoga Gives Back or the platform. I stepped the wrong foot back, but love me anyway, can't you? So here we'll take a chair pose and we will step our left foot back. And here we are now in a crescent pose with our right foot forward. And I hope I did get that wrong, and now I'm correcting it, but we'll see. So we'll interlace, and we'll see if we can drag that now to the back of our left knee. You guys here that are, it's always when I know that the class is going to go to a deeper platform that I blow it. You're getting to see my personality. Liz, unmute. Am I on the right foot? Did I fix it?
Andrea, I follow you whatever you do.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, maybe Sue Ellen is keeping track. Let's start to drag that interlace to the small of our back, shall we? And then it might stay here, and it might climb up into a prayer behind our back. Well, I'll find out. I'll find out from a multitude of platforms whether or not I corrected the side. And then we stay here for a few moments. We settle in.
Seemed purposeful to me.
It's a good thing it's a portal of love, and there's a great deal of understanding that goes along with it. Now let's release our interlace. And now we will stand it up and turn to face the long edge of our mat and keep the interlace if you don't mind. And now just take a fold. Spill your arms up and over. You can put a little bend in your knees, drift your weight towards the balls of your feet, and we'll take a few moments. Bring your hands onto your hips, firm your belly, and come all the way upright. Then heel toe, so that we're hip distance apart and we can make our way back to the front edge of our mat. And we'll stand into our mountain. Surya Namaskar B, chair pose is our inhale, and then we'll fold as we exhale. Inhale, lift your heart, swim it through a vinyasa, or take yourself straight to down dog. Right foot forward, and I do actually mean right foot, warrior one, or if you prefer, crescent pose. Then hands to your mat, step back, swim through your vinyasa, or take yourself straight to down dog. Left foot forward, Virabhadrasana, and then hands to your mat for a vinyasa or straight to down dog. We pause once again in our humble bow. At the bottom of our exhale, we'll walk, possibly float our feet to our hands. Inhale, lifting your heart, and exhale, folding it in. Utkatasana chair pose. This time, we'll sit it down into Navasana. Shoulders in their sockets, feet can stay on the ground. It's possible they flip up and your shins are parallel to the ground, and maybe your legs straighten while we're here. Keep charging those compassion batteries my direction for my errors. All right, Ardha Navasana. Perhaps that's straight-legged, it's likely bent kneed, and maybe even more likely bent kneed with feet on the ground. Bring your right knee into your chest. It could be that you prefer to do that with your left foot on the ground, or even your left leg on the ground. We'll venture that right leg straight. It may or may not agree to become totally straight towards the sky. We're thinking about our shoulder blades again, and this time we're thinking our shoulder blades would like to lift up off the ground, if they can. Cross your left ankle behind your right ankle, bend your knees, hands behind your head. We'll exhale our two ends together, and then inhale and tap down. Stay with that at your own tempo, and take breaks along the way if that helps to charge your compassion battery. Let both your hips touch the ground. See if both legs might agree to straighten a little bit or a lot towards the sky. Elbows go wide, and then we'll lift as much of ourselves off the ground as we can. And we're here for 3. And for 2. Lower down, uncross your ankles. Arms reach forward and your legs can stay here. Your feet can go flat, or you hover your legs above the ground. And now we pause just like this. Left knee into your chest. Adjust your right leg as you see fit. Left leg starts to venture to the sky. Now we've been in this low boat situation for a while, so your neck might appreciate that hand behind your head, or lower your head down for a while and then bring it back up. We're thinking about our shoulder blades trying to lift up above the ground, but we're not sure that they'll agree to do that. It's fine. Then we'll cross right ankle behind left ankle, bend your knees, hands behind your head, and we'll exhale the two ends together. And inhale, tap down, and away we go at your own tempo. Let your hips touch the ground, straighten your legs as much as they're willing, elbows wide, and then we just lift as much of ourselves off the ground as we can. Lower down, uncross your ankles. Totally great to keep your legs where they are or put your feet on the ground, and maybe they hover. We're here for 3. We'll come all the way up into our Navasana and then cross at the ankles, roll over your knees, swim it through a vinyasa, or take yourself straight to down dog. Right foot steps forward, warrior 1, and then you'll swim it through a vinyasa or you'll step it straight to down dog. Then left foot forward, Virabhadrasana. Hands to your mat. It's a vinyasa or a straight shot to down dog. And then we pause. At the bottom of our exhale, we will walk or possibly float our feet to our hands. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, fold in. Utkatasana. While we're here, let's gaze at the bright horizon, a horizon that we can make brighter as we work together with Yoga Gives Back. I mean it. Stand it up, and let's pause in our mountain. We'll take a Surya Namaskara B, where I'll be quiet, and then we'll meet in down dog. So I'll get you started. Utkatasana, inhale, and then off you go, and we'll see each other in our humble bow. From downward facing dog, step your feet about 5 inches forward. So let's make this a truncated down dog. It's a little bit shorter. And from this little bit shorter down dog, lift your right leg back behind you. And then think back to what we were doing at the beginning of the practice. In its full form, we may be borrowing some of that, but let's get a little step-by-step going here. So onto your left fingertips might be enough. Maybe left arm alongside your body and things start to get a little bit more wobbly, am I right? It's possible that you take your left arm behind your back and scratch that itch, that pretend itch in between your shoulder blades. And then we'll all wobble together and hopefully have a laugh about it, like I'm also hoping that you're doing about myriad things this practice. 3 more moments. Left hand down. We'll step our right foot forward into Virabhadrasana 1. Interlace your hands behind your back, lift your heart, and then spill your chest onto your thigh and take yet another humble bow in a sort of different shape. Some people spill their chest inside their right leg and even bring their head to the ground. Maybe that's you. Three moments together here. Just bring yourself upright and allow your arms to release the interlace and to bring yourself into warrior two. So we'll walk that right foot over to the left, resituate to sort of a heel to arch feeling in our legs. Take your arms wide, like you want to reach out and embrace everybody. We settle here into Virabhadrasana 2 together. And then we'll take our left hand, and remember what we did, actually just now in down dog, but back of your left hand to the small of your back is plenty. Maybe you can scratch the itch between your shoulder blades, as you may have done in our three-legged dog. Then take your right arm straight up to the sky and grow tall. Pat yourself on the back. Maybe clasp hands here. So here we are, Gomukhasana arms in a Virabhadrasana 2. Lots of movement in our opening number, and now we get to get a little still. As a woman who has had her own business for over 25 years, I am passionate about empowering other women and girls to do the same thing, which is exactly what Yoga Gives Back does. Through education and microloans, and also self-advocacy. The self-advocacy it takes to skillfully navigate through some deep-set social norms in India that have prohibited women from being their own person. Just like there has been a caste system in India for a long time, there have been some social norms that have made it nearly impossible for women and girls to be their own person. That's changing, and that's changing with help from people like those at Yoga Gives Back. Education is everything, isn't it? And if you think about it, we are educated daily by this practice. Think of what it's given us and continues to give us. And we want to give back. Sometimes it's really hard to figure out how it is that we effectively do that. It is for me anyway. Maybe for you too. Let's keep these Gomukhasana arms, or whatever they're looking like, and just lean back a little bit. It's like we're opening our heart once again to that idea of deep appreciation. Circle of gratitude. I hear from you guys on my platform all the time about how much this enhances your life, this practice, this portal of love, this connection, this union of yoga. Slide your left hand down and reach your right arm back. So it becomes a bit of a reverse warrior here for a moment. And then we'll lean out with our right arm forward and maybe bring our right forearm onto our thigh, or right hand on a block or on the ground inside your right foot. And those inclined to take a full bind will weave that right arm underneath and now take a full bind here in our side angle. And then we soak in it. Using props, taking time to modify or take a break. All of these things are things that we practice every day here on our mat. And we can extend that same compassion, because our batteries are charged, to causes, to women and girls in India, and anywhere else that you choose to spread your compassion. But as we do this practice, and consider how it is that we might give back, I welcome you to join me in doing so through Yoga Gives Back. We have 5 more moments, just like this. Once again, it becomes that reverse warrior. So we'll come up and swoop our right arm back behind us. We've got our left arm behind our back. Of course, you can do this a different way if you'd like. And then we'll straighten our right leg and pause. If you don't mind, keep this left arm behind your back. Just reach way out like we're doing in other ways, off our mat, I hope. And take your right hand to a block outside your right foot. Maybe it's your ankle that you use or your fingertips touch the ground. Let's feel our hearts open together here. Keep your left arm behind your back and step this up into a half-bound Ardha Chandrasana. So our block goes about a foot out in front of that right pinky toe. We've got our left arm behind our back. Our left leg will extend back behind us. You could try this on for size. What if you were to bend that top leg and use your right hand, that's the one that's on your block right now, to try to find it. Now maybe you do and maybe you don't, but you give it a shot. You create some opportunity here for yourself to grow and learn and stretch maybe. Isn't that what we do here? And don't we want ultimately to extend opportunities to others to do the same? Release your foot if you've got it, right hand down, and now we do in fact stretch our left arm towards the sky. We beam this idea of learning and growing and stretching out into the world. While we're here, maybe it occurs to you to bend your top leg and this time to hold with your left hand the pinky side of your foot. And while we're beaming our open hearts, it's possible those of you holding the top foot continue to hold that foot. All of us will try in some way to now turn our heart forward and come up into King Dancer. So you don't have to keep holding the foot. You can bring your left knee into your chest and then extend that leg back behind you as we join here, hearts open, standing tall. Step it down into a chair pose where we inhale, and then we'll exhale and fold. Inhale, lift your heart, step it back, float it back, take a vinyasa, or skip the vinyasa. We'll meet in down dog. And when we get to down dog, let's lift our left leg and open up our hip and do all the things that we didn't get to when I overlooked this side at the beginning of the sequence. We'll be okay. And then we square off. And you might walk your hands in to shorten this up. Remember, this is where we all experience a little bit of wobbles. We'll come up onto our right fingertips. It's possible our right arm comes alongside us, and maybe you even venture your right hand to scratch an invisible itch in between your shoulder blades. Release that right hand down. You can lengthen the distance if you want. And then we'll just come to plank with our left knee towards our chest for a moment because we missed this part too earlier. Then we'll step our left foot forward into Virabhadrasana. 1. Interlace your hands behind your back and interlace it so the other pinky gets a chance at the bottom. And then we'll just bow humbly. slightly to the inside of that left leg. And then you'll take it as deep as it makes sense for you. Bring yourself upright with the interlace and then extend your arms wide. Walk yourself wide. Expanse. Virabhadrasana 2. So we're in our warrior stance with our hearts open and our arms open wide. Bring the back of your right hand to the small of your back. Maybe venture that up like we just did in our three-legged dog, and then left arm up to the sky. And left hand can pat you on the back, or maybe your two hands meet, or there's a shirt or a strap or a towel that you use. And then we educate ourselves, body, mind, and dare I say spirit, while we're here. Education is everything. If we don't know, we don't know. There's a story on the Yoga Gives Back site about a woman whose husband beat her because she had a baby girl instead of a baby boy. She became part of a Yoga Gives Back microloan project. She now has her own business, and that same husband works for her. If we don't know better, sometimes we don't know better, and then we do. And we know that we can make things better. And how do we make things better? It takes so little from us. A $5 donation is 4 months of sanitary products for a girl. And that's significant because often little girls stop going to school because they get their periods. It's another part of the education. $5 is a year education of educational materials for one little girl in school. It's a week's worth of meals for a woman. It's 1 week of college or high school for a teenager. $5. I'm not even sure that you can get a cup of coffee anymore for that. Certainly not a fancy latte. All right, we stay with this and we lean it back. And then we'll design it letting our right arm come to the crux of our hip, left arm reaching, so a little reverse warrior. And we lean this out, and it can be form across the thigh or left hand inside. Those of you who are interested in a full bind, we'll take it into a full bind. Hearts open. Hearts open, and as we sort of use these as metaphors, here we are in a bind, but think of the binds that people are in, that our open hearts can be helpful to make better. Circle of gratitude. Let this become, once again, that reverse warrior. And then we'll just straighten our left leg. Hinge at our left hip, reach out, take our left hand to a block on the outside of that left foot, and now we're in a half bound triangle. We step it up to half-bound Ardha Chandrasana. Just move your block about a foot in front of that left pinky toe, and then up we float. Just out of curiosity, just so that we can educate, stretch, grow. What if you bent your right leg and you thought about your left arm, your left hand trying to find that right foot? As I frequently say, the prize is in the reach. Then we'll take our left hand down and our right arm up to the sky. Now we're shining that out into the cosmos. We're grateful for all that we learn. We're grateful for our own education, and yoga speaks svadhyaya, self-study. And we want to create opportunities. We want to stretch our yoga off our mat and out into the world. Maybe we take Chapasana here so you can bend your top leg and hold the pinky side of your foot if you dig that. And then Natarajasana, that just means that we face the short edge of our mat. If you're holding the foot, you might continue to. But all of us will meet up here. Left arm to the sky, kicking that right leg back a little bit, uplifting our very wide open hearts. Step it down into your chair pose, Utkatasana. We'll sit deep and reach up high. And this time, hands into a prayer, left elbow hooks outside your right thigh, and we twist it towards the right. Step your left foot back, so it's now a twisting crescent pose. Come upright with your arms extended wide and you're turning to the right. And then take your right hand down the back of your left leg. Unwind, arms wide out to the side. Here we are in our crescent pose. Straighten your front leg and wander that right leg over to the right. We're preparing for a pyramid pose, so if that's helpful to your stance. Now, turn your thumbs to face down and either fist bump behind your back, sort of like we did earlier, or wander a prayer up your back if that works. We uplift our heart. We'll fold here, hinging at our hip. You can always release your hands to the ground if that's going to help charge your compassion battery. Come halfway up, which may not be all that far from where you are right now. Keep the prayer or semblance of a prayer behind your back and turn to the right. So it's like a hands-free segue into a twisting triangle. Release your arms into that twisting triangle. Left hand on a block, either inside of that right foot or possibly outside of that right foot. And now we're once again expanding. We're shining our heartfelt compassion out into the world. Unwind, spin on your back toes, and lower your back knee onto your mat. So now we're in a low lunge. Keep reaching back with your right hand, and maybe you find your left foot, shades of something that we did in a different posture not so long ago. For some of you, coming on your left forearm might be where you go with this. Release that back foot and slide your left knee to your right heel. Ardha Matsyendrasana. Now, if this isn't working, you can sit on a block or you can straighten your left leg behind you, but we'll keep twisting with our left elbow outside our right thigh. Once you unravel, knee on top of knee. So full Gomukhasana, potentially. Left arm up to the sky, you pat yourself on the back, right arm out to the side, and either right hand on the small of your back of the right hand, or you reach up and maybe you can hold on. And you might even fold forward. We're not here a long time, but it is the fully realized Gomukhasana posture. Bring yourself upright, release, take your hands behind you, and place your feet hip distance on your mat. Lift up into table. You might drop your head back. We're lifting our hips up nice and high. Sit down and cross at the ankles. Roll over your knees and opt in or out of a vinyasa. And then from downward facing dog, walk or float your feet to your hands. Inhale as we elevate our hearts together, and then exhale, folding in. It's a chair pose. And this chair pose, hands in a prayer, right elbow hooks outside your left thigh. Step your right foot back. It's a crescent twist. Maybe you did more elaborate arm positions on the first side that you want to do here. We'll upright our torso and reach our arms wide. And perhaps venture our left hand down the back of our right leg. Unwind arms wide, straighten your front leg, back foot flat. Heel toe your left foot over to the left so that you feel like you're not going to topple over. Thumbs face down. It's a fist bump behind our back, or you climb your hands into a prayer behind your back. We uplift our hearts. We bow humbly to this practice of yoga, among other things. And then halfway up, probably not that far from where you are now, keep your prayer, turn to the left. Just see where it goes. Do your best. And then take that best and shine it out into the world by extending your arms and taking your block inside or outside of your left foot. Twisting triangle, Pavrita Trikonasana. We'll spin on our back toes, bend our front knee, scoot our right hand to the inside of that left foot, and then just keep reaching back to see what we find. Maybe a foot. We're stretching and reaching and growing and learning all together. Learning about ourselves can be a little uncomfortable sometimes. Learning about the world can be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. Let go of your back foot and make it Ardha Matsyendrasana however you do that. So it could be that you slide your right knee behind that heel and the knee stays bent, but you might straighten that right leg, and then we'll take a twist, a seated twist. Then we will unravel and make it knee on top of knee. Of course, that right leg can still be straight. And then you'll pat yourself on the back with your right hand, back of your left hand to the small of your back, or maybe they can reach and find each other. And if you want to fold it forward, that's great. Postural yoga is really more like about 175 years old. And when you talk about yoga in India, postural yoga a little bit, but it's really the philosophies that are the 5,000-year-old practice. That's the essence of what we learn, really, hopefully, from these poses and from this practice. It's the circle of gratitude. It's the education. It's opportunities to learn, no matter how uncomfortable, about ourselves, about each other, about the world that we live in, and to figure out ways in which we can shine a little bit brighter together and individually. Release this, so come up from your forward fold if that applies. Either a table pose or Purvottanasana with your feet together and your legs straight. We'll drop our heads back a little bit. And then lower down and bring yourself into a bridge pose. So feet hip distance, snuggle your shoulder blades underneath you, lift your hips, and here's that interlace that we've done standing upright a few times, and it's in a bridge pose now, potentially. Release it down. Place a hand on your heart and a hand on your low belly. Maybe you stay here and feel the beating of your heart, the rise and fall of your breath, those things that we have in common no matter where we live, no matter who we are. Possibly flip your hands and bring yourself into Urdhva Dhanurasana. But when you put it in the situation of the universality of the union of yoga, whether you're doing a fancy back bend or simply feeling the rise and fall of your breath and the beating of your heart, kind of puts that into perspective, doesn't it? We'll release it down here and cross our right ankle on top of our left thigh, and then just drop both knees over to the right, and think about maybe taking your left arm overhead. We've got a little twist going on here. How is it that you contribute to Yoga Gives Back? I'll put it in the description of this class for those of you on my platform, and you can go to Yoga Gives Back and donate anytime. Remember that $5, not even able to buy you a coffee in this day and age, and how much good that can do. And there's other ways to subscribe, monthly, yearly. Bring yourself back, thread the needle, right hand through the space. It might feel good to put a pillow or something under your head here. Release this, place your feet on your mat, cross your left ankle over your right thigh, and then just let both those knees drop over to the left. Your right arm might reach on the ground overhead for a moment. And then come down the middle, thread the needle, left hand through the space. In 3 weeks, I take people on retreat to India, to a place called Ladakh, which is in the Himalayas, but we'll go through Delhi. Delhi is its own very interesting place to be. And we are contributing to Yoga Gives Back. Those people who have paid for the retreat, part of that money goes to Yoga Gives Back. Maybe you'll join us and give your cup of coffee the direction of others, even just for a day. Maybe you'd like to take a happy baby or hug both knees into your chest, and then we will sprawl across the earth. Hearts wide open, beaming that into the ether, into the cosmos, as Will said. Shavasana. You're welcome to stay here in Shavasana as long as you would like. If it's time, give yourself a stretch, just like you're going to stretch your yoga off your mat, right? Collect your knees into your chest and roll to either side. And then come up to any comfortable way to sit. And once we're seated, we'll make a prayer. And we'll bring that prayer to our forehead for quality of thought, to our mouth for quality of speech, and back to our heart for quality of action, shining our light through what we think, what we say, and what we do. And then bow to yourself, to this practice, to opportunities for all of us to grow and stretch. Lift your head, open your eyes. Thank you so much for practicing with me.